I believe this is my worst yard. At least I hope it is. Hope I don't see any more of this. I knew this was coming in this location. This yard got hit last August twice with pesticides from sweet corn. I thought I was far enough away. It's 1.5 miles, I think, but somehow the bees got to it and it really caused some issues. Last summer, this is one of my very best yards of bees. Just boiling with bees, good sourwood, everything. And now many of the clusters are softball size, some a little larger. And as you can see by the empty spots, we lost several. And there'll be no spring splits here, of course. And the colonies were so strong, you can see that we put double screens over them and put a nuke on top to overwinter, thinking that we'd have really good luck with that. And that didn't even turn out so great. The nukes are tiny. They're alive. The brood patterns are good, but they're just so small. So the strategy here is going to be to requeen in April, requeen every single thing, and just try to grow them up and get them ready in time for sourwood. And they will be, I'm confident about that. I've had this location for 10 years, and this is the second time this has happened. Once I kind of thought, well, maybe it's a fluke. Twice, that's enough. I'll be out of here next year. It happens in August. I can predict it. So I might leave the bees here long enough to pick up the sourwood flow in July, and then the moment we pull the supers, just move them out, get them out of here, and then never come back. It's a real shame. This is a great location. Otherwise, it's got a real good wind block on the north side. It's got lots of good fall pollen. That's a good sourwood location. It's a good spring wildflower location, but I can't have this pesticide damage happening every once in a while like this. It's an insidious situation. These bees will take a little while to build back, and although they will, it's just no fun. I don't like it. So this yard's been pretty good. We had one dead one, no explanation. Could have been the queen, I'm not sure. That's more normal for us. That yard I showed in last week's video had 3 laying workers in it. We don't see that a lot because we're looking at our queens pretty closely in the fall. So we've done some minor equalization. We had a couple that were a little smaller than the rest. This one right here is one of them. John has one right there. It's about 3 frames of bees. So rather than adding frames of brood in this instance, it's cold. We're just going to swap locations. When we got here this morning, it was 43 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's still probably just 50 or something like that. But what we're going to do is just swap locations. We're not going to take frames of brood out of the big ones and put in the small ones. We'll just take this little one that John's got, 3 frames of bees, and put it in a location where there's a larger one. Just literally swap spots. Won't have to disturb the cluster or do anything, just swap them. And then that one I got right there, I'll swap with the one behind it. And quick and easy. Might not be quite as effective as adding or boosting with brood, but it's very fast and it's effective too. It works. How's that one, John?
Oh, this one's good. It's got almost 4 frames of brood.
4 frames of brood.
Yeah, they're all down right now. But
Stuff's looking good. Yeah, spring has sprung.
Yes.
Yeah. One dead one. 2 swapped locations to equalize. 3 could take a little feed. Just the right amount of colonies to give Shabu. March 15th, he's picking them up. So I'm at our Walmart yard, and it's cold for beekeeping, but we're going to do it anyway. Just got out of the truck. The truck said it's 43 degrees. Books tell you to wait till it's, I don't know, 50 or 60, but sometimes you can't wait. We're here to gather brood to move it on to another spot where we have some nukes that need boosting. And I'm in the Walmart yard, and they have bush hogged this whole place. This whole field used to be little pine trees, and now it's just mowed. Knew it was coming. He does it every few years. This is one of our premium or preferred nuke mating, queen mating yards. And we'll use it anyway. We'll just probably line the nukes up all along that small tree line back there. That's a big ditch back there. And of course, I talked about this earlier. They built a racetrack gas station up there. Hopefully that won't cause any issues. I know the landowner where I'm standing. I know the manager of the racetrack, so hopefully I can keep everything under control. Told the manager to keep his trash cans clean in the summer when there's no honey coming in. Bees will go up there and rob soda cans and donuts and whatever might be left in the trash cans, so we'll see how that goes. Anyway, a word about what we're doing here today. We're gathering brood to boost a few nukes that we're trying to sell. We've been going through nukes the last day or two, and some of them aren't quite up to snuff. They need another frame of brood and a week to get ready to sell. And we have not done anything to these bees for a long time. We gave them a little sugar patty on the top, and also did 2 oxalates back in midwinter when they were broodless, but besides that, there's been no bee work done here at all. I personally have not been into any of these brood nests since last November, so it'll be very interesting to see how these bees are doing. I honestly don't know. We're hoping they're big enough to give us some brood to take to the nukes and leave 3 or 4 frames of brood behind. We'll sort of semi-equalize them as we work, so they're all the same. These are Caucasian colonies. That could be a part of the equation here. Our Caucasians tend to overwinter with less bees, smaller clusters, start rearing brood a little later than some of the Italian colonies, so that could play into the situation. Again, it's just in the mid 40-degree Fahrenheit range, so it is a little cold. We have to be careful as we work. We can't leave frames of brood exposed very long. You can work bees in these temperatures, you just can't leave stuff exposed very long. So you've got to be mindful about that. Celine's getting ready to open the first one. We'll go see what she finds. Okay, this doesn't look too bad. Is there bees in that top box right there?
Yes, they're all on the side.
Okay, so that's a good looking colony. And just from this point of view, it looks like a very Caucasian colony. What do you got there, John? Uh-oh, that one's quite a bit smaller. They're in there, but so we're going to do a little equalizing here, of course. We're going to try to gather brood as we work. I'd like to leave at least 3 frames of brood in each colony.
Okay.
And the rest can go into the brood haulers. We can move on to that nuke yard.
Okay.
So these empty spots don't necessarily mean winter die-off. They could have been, issues from last summer. We did a lot of queen mating in these colonies. We actually requeened these with queen cells, which is always a little problematic. You'd never get 100%. And we ran them through the sourwood, and they've been good colonies. This is John Leake from Blairsville here helping us today. John's a good guy. He likes to come help us from time to time. His bees are in South Georgia right now. Okay, now remember, you can't leave brood exposed to this cold temperature very long.
Okay.
You have to move along quickly.
All right.
Put them back together. Don't leave them separated. Keep the frames together.
Okay.
Well, you do have some brood in there, don't you, John?
They got probably about 2.5.
2.5 broods. Okay, they'll come along. See if you can slip one more in there from Selena. Selena has brood to spare, I'm sure. So when we do this equalizing within the same yard, we try to find for sure sealed brood and hopefully some brood that's hatching to give to a colony that's getting donated to. And how's the weight looking?
I've got a few frames of food.
And mine's really heavy up
Yours
top.
is really heavy. Make sure there's at least 3 or 4 frames of food in that top box, John. That'll be good enough. We'll be back here in about 3 weeks to work these colonies, so I'm not terribly worried about having tons of food.
Probably about
2?
close to 3, yeah.
Close to 3?
frames of
Okay, that'll last them a couple weeks.
Okay, all right.
We could feed the inside feeders, but let's
Okay.
see.
Take this one.
You know, I really need to see another colony or two before I make that decision
On feeding them?
about feeding. Yeah, the
Okay.
feeders are in the bottom, as long and do move the clusters if they're smaller, like this one was. Move them towards the feeder in case we decide to use that feeder.
Okay.
They won't use it if they're 2 or 3 frames away. Feels like winter again, doesn't it?
I know, it
Like
does.
what happened to spring? It went away.
It's supposed to be a pretty severe storm, like a short, not long, but a short, severe storm coming.
Yeah, it's gonna rain. It looks like it's gonna rain. This isn't a great day.
Oh yeah, that's got some weight.
Okay, you got bees in the top too, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, there's some, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a decent colony. You got 5 frames of bees, which is really kind of what I expect out of these Caucasians. Oh, you got a little drone larva going on there.
Yeah, there was some
That
in this
has
one
some
too.
gold, too. That's
I don't know if this is focusing that close or not. I didn't see any mite skitter out of there. We got really low mite counts in our alcohol washes. In fact, zeros. That's all we could find was zeros in all our washes, so we're in good shape on mites. I like taking the feeder out first, kind of gives you room to work. So you got a fair amount of bees in that top box too, so you got a decent colony. We're in Clayton, Georgia, which is north of the shop. It's definitely cooler up here than it is in the bee yard we were in last week, south of the shop. Let's see what your brood looks like.
okay. So they need
Oh yeah, you got good patterns. They're going to come really fast now when they start looking like that. When we come back in 2 or 3 weeks, these are going to look a lot different.
And you need a boost, John?
yeah.
I got a good frame here, or I'm gonna look in my top box to see if I have brood up there too.
Okay.
Of course, hatching if you can find it. There are hatching bees in these colonies now. They've been rearing brood long enough. Okay, at first glance we thought this yard was going to be kind of mediocre, but this is what we've been running into. Crack that thing open, John. So we're going to be leaving here with some brood for sure. Okay, immediately look for mites. If you see a mite right now on drone brood, then that is a red flag for me. And we've not seen any of that, so I really do think our mite numbers are extremely low. But this is what we're suddenly seeing in this yard, so a little better than we first thought. What do you got, Selena? All in all, a decent yard of bees. 38 colonies left here, which is a good size. All of our brood hauler boxes are full of brood. We're leaving here with a bunch of brood. And these colonies will be building up pretty soon. They're scheduled to be split in a month. I think they'll hold on that long. I don't think anybody has more than 4 frames of bees, or 4 frames of brood. So I think a month from now will be a good time for splitting. Had to put a little feed in some of the inside feeders. Not all of them were real heavy. Nobody was starving, nothing dramatic, but we went ahead and gave some of them that 1.5 gallon feeder full of 1-to-1 syrup inside. This yard of nukes is a bit smaller than the last one we were in. Last week we took some video of one that was pretty good shape, close to selling. These nukes need a frame of brood added to each one, and then another 7 or 10 days for that brood to hatch and some food to be taken, and then they'll be ready to sell. So we just got a bunch of brood. That's what's in these brood hauler boxes over here, and everybody's going to get a single frame of brood. And of course this is our cell building yard right here. This is where we'll keep our breeder queens and cell building colonies for the summer. I've showed that in previous videos. So this isn't rocket science. We're just adding a frame of brood, sealed brood. We're on the lookout for brood that had hatching bees. That's a real good way to boost a smaller colony. Some of these could use 2 frames of brood, but we won't do that. 1 is the max because I don't want to overwhelm the smaller unit with foreign bees and get things stirred up to where they start killing queens and stuff. Generally speaking, adding one moderate frame of brood with bees that came from the bee yard into these nukes should work well. Every once in a blue moon we'll lose a queen, but if we're gentle and do it properly, it doesn't happen very often. There she is. Okay. Of course, these are all queens we raised last year, late summer queens, overwintered nukes. Yeah, it's not a lot of brood in that. Yeah, you only got one.
Got about
Not much brood, so we'll boost them with a full frame of brood, and in 10 days I think they'll look a lot different. Keep that gallon bucket on them, and they might not be bulging with 5 frames of bees in 10 days, but they'll be good enough to sell. The people that are picking these up understand that they're overwintered and growing fast. I put these videos out saying we're selling bees, and people call wanting to buy bees. But they're all sold. These were actually spoken for last November. UGA said they wanted them, so they never really were for sale. Let's see that brood just for the fun of it. So you can see how there's bees, you know, this is sealed up here. This has been hatching, relayed with eggs and larvae. Got a lot of pollen, honey in the corners. Both sides look like that. This is a good frame to boost with. Hatching bees really helps when you're boosting. And I honestly don't expect any issues. Yeah, I think that'll be good enough in 10 days. Yeah, it looks about the same. Yeah.
1.5 broods.
Yeah, same thing. Our observation hive is looking a little different today. Last time I viewed it with the camera was about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I commented that I was wondering if it would even make it, and it seems like it's exploding now. There must have been some sealed brood between the combs the last time I was here, or it wouldn't have grown this fast. It's now got sealed brood on the outside of the combs, and I think this is going to be guaranteed to swarm in about 3 or 4 weeks. We haven't opened this observation hive in several years because every year it swarms and requeens itself, and as long as it does that, I'm happy. We gave it an oxalic acid vaporization last winter, 2 actually. We actually put it on a cart and hauled it out of the room and gave it some oxalic acid, and I don't know what the mite count is at this point. I'll just assume it's in pretty decent shape. And I guess the brood break every year when it swarms helps too. So it'll be interesting to watch. It's got a little bit of drone brood actually showing up along some of the bottom bars there. We can see a few cells of sealed drone brood. So it's obviously feeling happy, and we expect it to divide. Maybe we can catch it this time. We don't always catch the swarm.